Hi everyone, welcome back for another season preview. This is going to be a two-part season preview as we're looking at the Minnesota Vikings. First I'm going to do one by myself and then I'm going to do one with my brother who is a Vikings fan, and we'll see what he thinks about the season, how optimistic he is. Now the Vikings, they went 10-6 last year, largely behind Adrian Peterson's MVP season that almost saw him set the all-time single season rushing mark. And Coach Leslie Frazier looks to build upon their success. They had 3 first-round picks in this year's draft, number 23, 25, and 29, so they're hoping that they can get immediate impact from all 3 of those picks. We're going to start now on the offense, where a large part of the team's success this season is going to hinge on the shoulders of former first-round pick and 12th overall out of Florida State, Christian Ponder. He's in his 3rd year, and He's been up and down. He doesn't get a lot. He doesn't have a very strong arm, but he can be accurate. He completed 62% of his passes this year, and he threw more touchdowns than interceptions. In fact, he threw a 1.5 to 1 ratio. And he did not play in the Vikings playoff loss to the Packers. That was Joe Webb starting. So you maybe wonder how much of a difference that makes. Maybe they could have won that game if he started. But of course, we move to running back, where the team is counting on Adrian Peterson to have another big season. They don't need 2,000 yards for them to make the playoffs, but they do need at least 1,600. And that is always possible when you have the type of talent that Adrian Peterson does. Especially when you're getting help from your Pro Bowl fullback, Jeremy Felton, and you have a very good line in front of you, led by last year's 4th overall pick, Matt Khalil at left tackle. You move across that line to right tackle, and you got big former Oklahoma player, Phil Lodvall, who's an excellent run blocker and just pushes defensive linemen back into the linebackers. The weakness is the interior of the line, where they've got former Colts left tackle Charlie Johnson playing left guard. He's much better at guard than tackle. He's a very good pass blocker. And you have John Sullivan, who was a Pro Bowler last season. You really wonder about some of these Pro Bowl selections. Last year's other Pro Bowl selection for center in the NFC, Jeff Saturday, and he was the worst center in the NFL. So being a Pro Bowl doesn't mean a lot. It's just mostly based on fan voting. Brandon Fasco is entering his 2nd year of starting for the Vikings, so they bring back the same line. We'll look now at the wide receivers and tight ends, and we're going to start with their big free agent acquisition. They signed former Green Bay Packer Greg Jennings to a big contract. He's coming off an injury-prone season where he missed half the games, and injuries have been a problem for him of late. So you have to wonder, how much does he have left? Is he finished? Is he past his prime? And then they spent their 3rd first-round pick, number 29, on Tennessee volunteer Cordero Patterson. Excuse me. I don't know why I can't pronounce your name today, Cordero. He's fast. He had a good season at Tennessee. It'll be interesting to see how they use him, Patterson and Jennings on the field at the same time. And then last year's number 1 was Jerome Simpson, and he is definitely not a number 1 season receiver. He's best used as a 3rd receiver. He's a guy who makes a lot of mistakes, drops balls, misses blocks, and runs bad routes, but he can make highlight reel catches. We saw when he made that backflip touchdown run as a member of the Bengals. We move to tight end, where they have 2 former Notre Dame Fighting Irish players. First, we're going with the starter, 2nd round pick a couple of years ago, Kyle Rudolph. He's a good all-around player. And then you have John Carlson, who is in his 5th year, 6th year, I can't remember. Don't quote me on that. He's a good second tight end. You can get by with him, even using him as a starter. So they have good options there. Expects them to catch a bunch of balls from Christian Ponder, because he does not have a big arm. That was the one concern many scouts had of him coming out of Florida State, is that he struggles to get the ball downfield, but very accurate within 20 yards. And now we move to the defense, where they have a very strong defensive line, but unfortunately we're filming this right during their 3rd preseason game, and Kyle Williams just left hurt. So if they lose him, that is a huge blow to their defensive line. He's been a great tackle for them for 11 seasons, and they drafted a guy who they hope replaces him in the near future, and that would be Sharif Floyd out of Florida, a guy who was once projected to go 3rd overall to Oakland, fell all the way to 23rd. So he could be a very good player for them. And the questions on him were, he only had 1 season of production at Florida. He was very good for 1 season. That was last year, when Florida had one of the top defenses in the NCAA. They only gave up a shade over 14 points a game. Also on the defense tackle would be Latroy Guyen and Fred Evans. So you got a nice rotation, 4-man rotation there that can take some plays off when needed to, and you don't have to worry about much of a drop-off going to your bench. We're going to move to the defensive ends, where the Vikings may have the best rotation in football for 4-3 teams. Jared Allen, Brian Robinson, and Everson Griffin combined for 28 sacks last year. Now, you saw a big drop-off in Jared Allen's production. You have to wonder, is he hitting the decline now in his early 30s? I believe he's turning 32 this season. Then Brian Robinson has been a very good pickup for the Vikings. He offers them more than just pass rushing. He knocked down a lot of passes. If everyone remembers that Thursday night game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he had his way with Josh Freeman's passes. He was knocking those down, breaking up passes. And then you have the once highly touted Everson Griffin, who came out of USC, predicted to be a 1st to 2nd round pick. He fell all the way to the 5th round, a steal for the Vikings. He's showing them he's playing exactly how analysts thought he would, but teams disagreed with, and that's why he fell. We move to the linebackers, where we start with Chad Greenway. Greenway is a tackling machine. He just loves to hit and makes plays, gets sideline to sideline. One of the better linebackers in the NFL. And then we move to Aaron Henderson in the middle. His older brother EJ was the starter there for a long time, but an injury cut his career short. Aaron is not as good as his brother and is below average starter, unfortunately for the Vikings. And then it's the battle for weak side linebacker. You have Desmond Bishop, the former Packer, who missed all of last season, but was very productive the season before. So I consider him the favorite over Marvin Mitchell, who is a career backup. We move to the defensive backs, where the Vikings look to replace Antoine Winfield, who they released, and he then went on to sign with the Seattle Seahawks. They have Chris Cook, who is good when he's not in trouble. He obviously had some problems with the law before, and has missed a few games because of it. Now, the main players in competition to replace Antoine Winfield are the 25th overall pick, Xavier Rhodes, the rookie out of Florida State, is the favorite to start over 2012 3rd round pick and 6-game starter last year, John Robinson. But either way, they will have a good option in the slot as the 3rd corner. We move to free safety now. Harrison Smith is a beast. I remember hearing one analyst say that Harrison Smith's going to have to have the checkbook out a lot because he is going to get fined a lot for the way he plays. He is vicious. He takes no prisoners, and he hits guys. He's not afraid to get his head in there and just send guys flying. Very good rookie season. If he follows that up, he's going to be in the conversation for Pro Bowl this season. But then we move to strong safety, and that's the weak point of the defense. Jamarcus Sanford is the weak link on the defense. Unfortunately, they don't have any better options to start there. So the Vikings he could be the target of other teams' offenses. We move to kicker Blair Walsh now for the special teams, and he had an amazing season. He was excellent inside the dome at the Metrodome, and he has a strong leg and he's very accurate. But unfortunately, he's not going to be enough to propel them back to the playoffs. I have them only going 8-8 this year and finishing 3rd in the division. That's my preview for the Minnesota Vikings.